Welcome to Dialogues at Dusk. Matthew and I are your hosts for this event, and today we are joined by the lovely guest, Vicki. Vicki, would you mind telling us a little about yourself?
Hi, I'm Vicki. I didn't prepare for this part, and I guess I shouldn't have to. But I make games. I am owned by cats, and I'm here to talk about games and
Awesome.
games for change.
Awesome.
Excellent.
To be fair to you
Yeah, you've
also,
got.
oh,
I was just gonna say to be clear, it's that cats own you, not the other way around. Is that correct?
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
great.
they own
How
me.
many how many cats own you, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, just two for now.
Okay,
is it like a
okay,
50-50
that's very
split?
nice.
Does one own the majority?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I have one
Interesting.
that owns me during the workday, and I have one that owns me most of the rest of the day. But I think they'd call it a 50-50.
Hmm. Okay, very cool.
And then I'm sorry, Matthew, I cut you off on
Oh,
something.
I was just going to be silly. I was going to say, we always send maybe some inside baseball for folks listening, and we try to type up some questions and send them over to the guests before we do these episodes. And one question that we don't have is like, tell us about yourself. So I was going to say, Vicky, you're honestly, you're justified for not having an answer to that because we do not like prep anyone with that. So it's kind of like we
Yeah,
start with a curveball and then go from
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't prepared for that one.
All right, definitely noted. We'll have to we'll take that feedback into advisement.
We do always kind of spring the intro. We don't have like a consistent podcast opening like other cool people do. We
We just
we
jump
kind of
in.
just spring it on people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Joe's asking, what's a reasonable that cats do an even split? Yeah, cats are very like pragmatic that way, I think, maybe. Okay.
I mean, mine are.
Anyways, yeah. Vicky's cats are. I don't know about other people's cats, but Vicky's cats are. Um, so for today's topic, we are talking about manifesting change, designing games with the intention to teach lessons and change the world, and generally promote growth. And we wanted to have Vicky on because they have a tendency to create lots of games of this nature. It seems like a focal point for you. Why don't you tell us what is it that you find makes games a good tool for education?
Games are fun, for one,
Mhm.
or at least they generally are. They don't have to be, but they're an experience. They're interactive. They're hands-on. You get to practice skills in a safe, restricted environment. Restricted in like the magic circle sense, not restricted like restrictive. Um, and generally, learning just increases with fun. So having or other intense emotions for that matter.
That's awesome. Yeah, I felt very similarly about games myself. Like I feel like I learned how to navigate social situations through games a lot. Because I feel like the real world of no rules intimidates me. So I like having a little structure to it.
I guess then kind
um,
of jumping in here real quick, would you say that, just based on what you said, it sounds like also on both sides, they serve as a great teach tool, right? So like, is that kind of like your main tool for kind of that instruction aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like all of this um, just ties back into the learning and the education of possibilities in a game.
Very nice.
Also, I'm not sure what your question was, so I'm not sure I answered
No,
it.
it was a weird question. I realized after I said it out loud, I was like, wait, what did I just ask? But I was mostly trying to get into like kind of the other side of the coin, how like when you mentioned that like it creates like this magic circle experience, and then Zoe mentioned, well, it's great for me. I was thinking on my end, I often use like games as a teacher, right? So like I'm usually the one that's doing rules teaches and all that kind of stuff, and trying to like set the stage, right? And so it's just they're so fantastic for that as well, for like giving knowledge as well as receiving it. Like it's a two-way street.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you often, no, correct me if I'm wrong, but you often go into your designs with like specific messages that you want to like deliver, specific lessons that you want to teach with them. Is that right?
Always.
Hmm.
I once tried not to, and it didn't go anywhere. I didn't find it interesting enough, so it is just some index cards.
The heart needs to have its fuel for the creative juices to flow, and if there's not like a lesson to teach, the creative juices don't flow for you. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, cool. Why don't we talk about some of the games that you're working on and some of the lessons that you're trying to teach with them? Maybe we could do some examples.
Okay, I could do that. My very first game that I brought to anything was Perfect Mansion, and it was a cat on a robot, or a not branded robot vacuum. Um, Please cut that part out. And my
Ooh.
goal was to teach like step by step thinking, like moving around with programmed movement, and it was a little chaotic. Um, that was really all I was trying to teach with that, other than cats are cute. Um, I also
But that
have
was like
wolf chain. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Perfect Mansion was like there was like a programming lesson in there, wasn't there? Like if I
Yep,
remember.
very much so. Um, I have wolf chains, which I started making after going to a wolf preserve near my parents' home. And the guy there was telling me about how we just decided to kill all the wolves, and then our environments and ecosystems just kind of fell apart.
Hmm.
Um, so I was like, well, what if I made a game about that? And my mom could use it for like her students, and because they were going to do a field trip there. So I have that game in progress and all the effects that humans might have on that environment. I also
Cool.
have a not a real word game, which its goal is basically rules are meant to be broken.
Right.
Um, Also mixed with, if you're correcting someone's grammar, maybe you're a jerk. Just maybe. Like, if you're the teacher, I guess fine. But also, we were taught these things are rules, and really, they're just flexible guidelines. Proper grammar is inconsequential at best, especially if we understand people. And I don't know about you, but I have way more important things to worry about. Um,
How do you start distilling these down into games? Because these are some, poignant points, right? These are some like I wouldn't describe any of these as hot takes so much as like these are like kind of real life perspectives that you're trying to filter into a game experience. That can be, I know from personal experience, that's challenging. So how do you kind of start, taking a viewpoint or something you feel strongly about, or even like a real world event that clearly you have a stance on, and how do you start building a game around that?
well, first, I have to have the inspiration. And the inspiration for Not a Real Word Game was my wonderful spouse correcting somebody, being that jerk. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we didn't do that anymore? I was like, well, how? And then how turned into, words are just parts, which we've all learned there's prefixes and suffixes, bases, roots, whatever. So I turned that into my special interest for a little bit about learning way too much about how words are put together and how letters happen. And then I was like, well, what if I literally just took prefixes and suffixes and put them on cards? And that worked. Maybe I didn't need to learn all of that before I did that, but I did. And it just kind of worked. Because there's already a rule system there. The real world is already full of rules that we already intuitively understand because we went through, I guess intuitive is not the right word, but regardless, you understood what I meant, right? So we're good.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, the rules are already there, so you don't have to teach them in the game. They're already expected to be known, which makes the game a lot quicker to teach, at least. Maybe not to make. Sometimes that makes it harder to make the game because it's a little more restrictive. Like the food chain or food web of wolves and beavers and deer and whatever is very restrictive in wolf chains. But that actually means I was literally able to use the populations of wolves and deer and beavers for the game. I didn't have to come up with any of the numbers. That environment just exists.
It did the math for you already.
It sure did.
Excellent.
It was like, oh, there's twice as many elk as there are deer. Perfect. Cool. That's what my game has.
Amazing.
Is this the secret to your design process? Because one of the questions I wrote down was like, why are you so good at designing victorless games? And because I find that when I play your games, they have like this compelling hook to them. I kind of intuitively know how to engage with it, and I kind of instinctually know how I want to play with it, and I'm not given a win condition that I have to confine myself to. I'm just allowed to play in that space. So I'm so what is your secret? Is your secret that you're drawing on real life and kind of adapting that into a game?
That was the one bullet point I didn't have an answer for, and I think you just answered it for me. Thank you. That's perfect. Yeah. So scaffolding on top of knowledge that most people already have, or common knowledge, is helpful. That's my secret. My secret is I don't make anything up.
You touched on something earlier that I actually think also kind of goes into this, and it's what led Zoe to its segue, which was the nature math, right? I thought that was really interesting because there's so many things in the environment that just have math and numbers that don't lead to an end game winner, but the math still is mathing. Right? And so that's a very interesting thing. It doesn't lead to an end result of an equation. It just keeps on mathing. And I think that does kind of tie in with that sort of victorless experience of it's a progression, it's a bunch of plot points. But there is still some thinking numbers if you want there to be, in that sort of real life sense, especially in the nature sense. Because I do remember playing your game, and in the back of my brain, I kept thinking, okay, I bet there's going to be a bunch of this because my intuition tells me that, and I was often kind of right in a cool way. So I was really excited about that.
Helps that the number is on the card too.
Oh yeah, don't. Okay, listen, that was very
Okay,
helpful.
my bad. No one
But
knows that. No
yeah, Zoe,
worries.
can we edit that out? Can we get that taken out in post of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
me missing
Yeah,
something
yeah,
really obvious? Perfect.
yeah. Let me timestamp these two things. um, awesome. That's very fascinating to me. That is so. So then, what was your So then, I understand your inspiration for like wolf chains and not real working. What was your inspiration for moral fabric, if you don't mind me asking?
That's a good question. What was it? I want to sound extra smart and be like, oh, well, I was learning about the Overton window and all of the topics that, it's okay to talk about, but like that's not the case. I made a whole game and then learned that I built an Overton window, which, by the way, is the range of topics that are appropriate to be talking about at any given time. Like the Overton window in our group of 6 people here that are watching and talking is going to be different than in a different room. Um, I'm sure there are things I would talk with all of you that I wouldn't talk with um, my boss. Well, my boss is cool, but maybe his boss. Um, yeah, so because I didn't explain moral fabric earlier, moral fabric is basically a list of um, things that we do, like actions, like I think people call it squeezing the lemon or driving through a yellow light and
Hmm.
saying, I'm breaking the law, and things like that. Or maybe, peeing at a pool because everybody loves when we do that. Or storing your doves in the freezer.
Your
Then we want to
doves?
put those in order. Yeah, doves, birds. They're
Birds.
gray.
Oh,
Okay.
like in that show. Like
What show? Oh no.
Yeah, Zoe, what show you watching when
no
they freeze doves?
no like
Why are they?
Arrested Development. Remember? Like
Oh, I
that
haven't seen
meme where
it.
it's like it says like dead
Oh,
dove
it's in
and
a
he looks
yeah, it's in a
inside.
paper bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone asked me if that was a reference to that, and I was like, no, I just was looking up things that are actually illegal.
So, Vicky, I meant to tell you this when we did in-person playtesting recently, but I learned recently that pinball machines were apparently illegal in the state of Virginia. Just in one of those weird things.
No.
Yeah, and apparently it was considered a form of gambling, and so a bunch of like
Oh,
skilled
I did
pinball
know
players.
that.
Yeah, apparently a bunch of skinball players had to go to court and demonstrate to the court that it's not gambling and it's a skill, and so they were playing pinball in the courtroom. So just going
Well,
back to just a fun. This is all
that's
alleged, by the
awesome.
way. I haven't fact checked this, but I did hear this from a reputable source who
No, I'm gonna
uh,
look that up.
has been on this show previously. So
Yeah,
yeah,
And
that sounds like a screenplay for a movie. It's like we have to make the pinball legal again, and we have to prove it by winning like solid games in court.
skateboards into the courtroom, takes off
Yeah,
sunglasses, starts playing pinball. Get a load of this,
yeah.
judge. That's what I want to do for game design. That's what I think Vicky does for their game designs personally. Same thing.
so it is. You actually reminded me of what my inspiration was. I have found that, oftentimes there are things that are illegal that are um, not bad. And then there are things that are legal that I don't know, I would consider really bad. Um, and I don't understand why there are people that still think that legal means good and illegal means bad. And so I wanted to make a game that made us talk about it.
How have you felt about those playtesting events of that game? Like, what have you kind of taken from that in the context of your journey to make that game? Do you feel like it's creating the conversations that you've kind of, it sounds like you've had to yourself about these things?
Yeah, the first couple didn't, but I was using some really benign, goofy laws that were like keeping an alligator in the bathtub or an ice cream cone in a pocket, a back pocket specifically. And like that didn't make us talk about, the legality or the morality of these actions. That was more, oh hey, look at this cool factoid.
Right.
But I did find that this past weekend we did actually get into some good conversation about what's legal and what's not, and why.
Very cool.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's been really cool watching how that game develops, and I'm always I'm always a little nervous, like hearing I'm worried about those playtests going awry because I can imagine things getting like really intense.
Yeah, I'm super worried about that, and like it almost made me not make the game because I was like, I can't figure out how to make this pretty rails free, but not become Cards Against Humanity. Also, sorry if I'm not supposed to say that either, but we all know. It's that one purposefully flirts with the edges, one edge of the Overton window, and I don't want my game to do that. I definitely see the possibility for it. Right. But hopefully I have enough structure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that is like a design concern that I'm like often thinking about. Like how do I make a game that allows like stuff to veer in this direction that I don't condone and don't like, but also make it, I don't know, like clear that I don't like that and that you shouldn't like it either.
Right.
How to put like put my morals into the game, I guess. Make sure that people take away like my message and not like go like, hey, it's really fun in bread when you starve people to death or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, nope.
We probably shouldn't add that to the marketing for that game, Zoe. We should definitely not put that stuff
yeah
anywhere on that box. It sounds challenging. I know it's challenging. There's something interesting. We've kind of dipped into this subject before a little bit. It's interesting in Victorless and to an extent multi-victor games too. I find that your actions are your own. And so the tension points kind of go up a little bit because you're not hiding behind a character. You're not hiding behind I must do this. It's you're kind of going, I'm doing this because I want to, and you're kind of wearing your morals on your sleeve a little bit more, which is interesting. And then trying to make sure that doesn't then lead to we're now all enemies at this table and trying to keep that on rails. So I definitely can, right. And sometimes maybe that's a good thing. I've certainly had some interesting game nights in my life, but I do think that's an interesting challenge in trying to facilitate that as a designer, because on the one hand, players be playing, right? They're going to be doing what they're doing, and that's life. And you can't control all players ever. On the other hand, you do have to make sure that you're getting the right message across and communicating it without leading to an explosion. So I think that's a tough thread to needle. And so it's cool, Vicki, when I play your games, because I do feel like you often thread that needle, frankly. I generally feel like the way you present the game and the way it looks like and the way it acts and the way I interact with them, I feel like I'm often nibbling at something bigger than me, but I'm doing it in a very accessible, approachable way, and I think that's pretty cool.
I mean, that's
Heather's
awesome. And you kept that super thematic with threading the needle right through our moral fabric quilt
Yeah,
that we're
yeah,
building.
yeah.
Yeah. Heather says in chat, so wait, is Matthew saying his real life morals are, quote, stealing from others to realize your dark desires are good, a la actions in Hollow? Yeah, sure. I don't know. It's fine. Like people ask in that game, like, so is stealing good? I'm like, well, it's legal in this. You can do it. So going back to the moral fabric, yeah.
Yeah, Joe's apparently seen Matthew do this, so
Sure.
I mean, is stealing really always bad?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, let's play the game. Bust it out.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, to try to veer back on topic, yeah, that was what I liked about Moral Fabric was that it kind of like it by it emphasizing this duality of stuff, I felt like it kind of forced you to have like conversations about these things in like a more like focused and nuanced way, and I appreciate that about that game. Um, yeah, it's one of your games that I'm really excited to see.
Me too. Me too.
um, so earlier we kind of mentioned this briefly, but like your games tend to be very approachable and easy to learn. Like, how do you balance like the approachability of your game with its ability to like instill like these hard messages? Like sometimes it feels like these things are like pushing against each other, like your ability to deliver a message and your ability to for the game experience to like connect with a lot of people or connect with people.
Yeah, so I focus on super light games.
Hmm.
I could imagine that if I went for heavier games, it might be a little harder. But I shoot for games that are going to be palatable to as many people as possible, which means I'm using super common knowledge as scaffolding. It means I'm making sure that the words are really big. Um, there's like physically big, like the font. I don't want anyone not being able to read things. I'm minimizing the words. Graphic design helps a lot, and that happens to be an interest of mine.
What do you, not to interrupt, what do you mean
Yeah,
by the
just
minimizing of words?
um,
Like keeping them simple?
words on. Yes, keeping them simple and keeping like minimal text on
Got it.
components.
Got it. Okay, I'm
So
with
like
you.
using familiar icons or numbers
Okay.
or shapes, I guess, colors, patterns, making things go together and they don't seem like they do. And on top of that, we have set minimizing, and I've lost what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry. I was just curious. Oh no.
No, no, you're good. I don't remember though. What was
Yeah,
I saying?
like
Oh, the approachability. Okay, so try to make games for a really light, like party audience, so that I
Hmm.
can get these in front of more people. Because honestly, even if I never publish a game, I have play tested them with people and at least affected a couple people,
Hmm.
and hopefully that has some sort of outsized impact.
awesome. Do you so in terms of like in terms of like delivering like the message in your games, like that seems like it almost seems like it comes like effortlessly out the design. Is that like do you think that there is like this duality between making the game approachable and like still having it be like able to deliver a message? Or
I don't think so. But like my I would say that this is more my medium for um activism, I guess. It's my way of contributing back to the world. So like this was the thing I want to do anyway, and games happen to be my fate. I don't really feel like they are at odds with each other. The approachability and the lessons. I feel like they go hand in hand because I want the lessons to be super simplified and broken down to like a point where most people could gain something from them, and that doing that makes it approachable. And I really focus on accessibility from a literal accessibility point. I don't want anyone to be told they can't play um, just by my cards having tiny words or having cards when I don't need cards. I have a book on accessibility in gaming where they said, the fun in a game is generally in the inaccessibility, but that's the intentional part. You're saying, this is what I want players to be able to do to have fun in this game. So, like, being able to read tiny words wasn't necessary with not a real word game. So it's got monster text on it that I suspect a larger publisher would probably tell me to make smaller, and I would not be very happy about it.
Right.
Like, I want you to be able to read it from across the table.
Yeah, that seems particularly important for that game. I'm sorry, Matthew,
Yeah.
were you going to say something?
I'm always about to say something. So, yeah. My exercise in these calls and these amazing interviews has been trying to be a little more quiet and listen in further. I found this. Oh, look, precious. Yeah, never mind. I take back everything I was about to say. Just look at this cat for 5 minutes. Yeah, I was really interested in sort of what you had just gone through. So, my take from all that, especially when I, zoom out and think about other games I'm working on, I'm like, oh gosh, I should put some less text on this. Now this is the first time I felt self-conscious about having a lot of text on my nonsense, because I've justified that a million and one times. Yeah, I know. I normally don't get self-conscious about my text. I love my text. But this.
Well, I've got a pet peeve there.
Oh snap! That's incredible.
Here's my pet.
Aw.
Yeah, my pet peeve.
If you told me that the cat's name was Peeve,
totally cutting you off, but
no, it's great. If you told me that cat's name was Peeve, I would have been very happy.
No, it's Remy.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, my pet peeve is, and I know that some people might not agree with me, and that's okay. The words, the games that have like 3 rules in their book, and then they're like, "You're good," and then you have to read a paragraph on every freaking turn because they outsourced the rules to the card.
Right.
Done. Off the table. It will not make it to my table.
You would have hated my game opacity, where the cards created the rule book.
So,
actually, that sounds interesting.
So my sort of take from this, though, again, kind of zooming back out, just hearing everything, is that the game is optimized as a teach tool when it also is optimized as an accessibility tool. In other words, you ain't teaching nothing if no one can look at the game and kind of contextualize what's happening in it effectively. I think there's some great truth in that. When I think about like even like hobbyist gaming and like all these wild, absurd games that we play, there is a reality that like when I show even like a what we call like I guess in our when you play games as much as that's like a lightweight game, I'll put that in front of somebody like, what is this mysterious language you've put in front of me? And they don't have an opportunity to learn from it because they haven't learned about the tools to access that game in the first place. They don't know how to use those tools. And I think there's something really magical and charming about taking what I would consider to be this sort of a lot of these accessible lessons and sort of lessons of reaching as many folks as possible and applying them to a more what I would consider maybe sort of a greater philosophical or space of ideology, right? So like a lot of these sort of things that you've mentioned, we often see in like more capitalist framing or more like monopoly or what or things that don't have are very low text, big images, big icons, etc. And you're saying I've taken some of the lessons from that from some of these kind of mainstream games that do get in front of a lot of folks, and I'm applying them to this whole other world. That's kind of my interpretation of that too, with a bunch of other things too, right? But like to me, like I found that really fascinating because normally designers we look at a lot of those mainstream games and go, I'm not doing that. But to me, like those are games that often get in front of a lot of people, which means they often are most effective at conveying messages to a lot of people. And so to me, when I hear about the games you're making, I get excited because I'm like, Vicky's talking about some cool stuff over here. And it has the opportunity to get in front of a lot of people really effectively. And that's really cool.
I think that's really cool that you said that because that's actually the opposite of what I've done. It is the same result, but it is the opposite because I feel like I started playing more gateway type and mid-weight games, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this sucks. And I'm
Yeah.
like, not that the games suck, but like the overhead that you have to play what could otherwise be a really simple game if they had another a little bit more graphic design budget
Yeah.
or skill. Like it's not like I think everyone should have those skills, but they do greatly reduce the um, the skill floor. Like
Hmm.
the floor to something is, how much you need to know. And if you can lower that, more people get to play. And so I guess I've ended up with games that are very much like our mass market friends. I think that's great. That that's awesome. I didn't do it on purpose, but cool. I guess that means they're doing something right.
Oh yeah.
But I bet that they spent a
Yeah,
lot more
definitely.
money to figure that out.
Uh, when designers ask what are like I've had designers in the past ask what are the 5 games that I should be playing as a designer and I've gotten this a surprising amount of times in life and one of my first answers is Candyland. You should play Candyland and you should play it with the intention of understanding why it was made and what it does really well and what audience is trying to reach and how well it works at accomplishing those things. And I think it's a
Right.
brilliant game. I think its roots are brilliant. I think its history is brilliant. And I think its thesis was helping kids find joy in extremely difficult moments. And in my opinion, and from what I've read on it, and like that stood the test of time. And I think it's incredible.
Yeah. I
Have
mean, it's a great way to be learning colors and taking
yes,
turns. And I think that people often just they're like, shoo shoo, those things are not important. And I'm like, but that was the target audience.
Yeah.
The target audience for that game needed that.
Right. Heather says in chat, the message a complex game sends to a newbie can easily be, quote, "This is not an activity you're qualified to participate in."
Ugh. Yes. That's a floor that is way too high. That's frustration, irritation. That's my spouse when I pull out a game. I'm like, look, it's not that hard, I swear. There's just a lot of words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when somebody brings out a big complex game, I'm like, oh, I guess we're doing taxes. I guess we're doing math homework. Okay, let's do this.
You think there's someone out there you can like hire to like be your like board game turn accountant? Like you can just pay them like $20 to come to game night and they just like take your complex turns for you. You're like, look, this is what I want to do, but I don't want to figure it out. And they're like, yeah. Let me just they like, type some things up, they crunch some numbers and they just run your turn for you. I mean, I feel like that there's a market for that.
I think you're right. And we have the technology for that. And I think this sounds like not a good idea.
Agreed.
That also sounds like not playing the game. Like, why are you even going? Are you paying them to play the game?
Hey,
I want to get paid to play the game. Okay, never mind. This sounds like a great idea. Matthew, I'll do all of your decisions.
That'd be great. Heather says, this is the career path I should have pursued. Yeah, I'll get you both out to a game night. Y'all can run my turns for me. And that'll be great. Thank you.
Yeah, let me. You take my turns for me while I socialize with my friends and pretend to be playing.
Yeah.
And then when I do something terrible or cutthroat because the person playing for me does it, then I'll just be like, oops, bye. Heather asked this earlier. I think we might have missed it.
Yes.
I think there is a confusing line with this idea of not being able to hide behind what the game is making you do in unranked games. Guess it's more of a question of owning what you think is fun and interesting in the way you interact during the games than your morals in day-to-day life. Like unranked games, because it's a game, you're able to do things that you wouldn't normally do. Like be a jerk and steal somebody's soul.
Right.
And so, yeah, there is like an interesting thing there, isn't there? I'm not sure how to like interpret right off the top of my head.
I think the big thing maybe. Oh, go ahead, Vicki, please.
Oh, it makes me think about when people talk about comedy and what should and shouldn't be in comedy. Like there's many an inappropriate joke that is punching down at people that shouldn't be dragged just because they exist.
Mm-hmm.
And you have people making jokes about it, but like, okay, so you're saying you think that's funny? And you're thinking and you're telling other people it's funny and it's okay to think that's funny. But they're like, oh no, it's just a joke. I'm like, okay, I don't believe you. Like, how do you differentiate between I know we have our magic circle where in a game we can say these things and do the stealing of souls and all of that. But it could say something about you. Or maybe you're just practicing a thing. You're like, I just want to see what the effect is. And then you're learning about that effect, which I think is one of the awesome things with the unranked games is being able to see what happens when you steal someone's soul.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe to speak on this as well. I think the big thing is that when I say you're kind of like you're not able to like hide behind action. I think that's kind of what brought this up earlier. in an unranked game, sometimes you can do things just for the sake of doing them, and because it's interesting to do, but it's not for a win con, right? So, I can't just say, well, I'm doing this because I need to win. So when you're doing it, you're saying, I'm doing this because it's interesting. And so stealing someone's soul because it's interesting hits a little bit differently than stealing somebody's soul because you want to win, right? Or you're kicking somebody's flowers because it's interesting feels a little bit different than kicking someone's flowers because you want to win. And so there is a little bit of a narrative, a bit of a narrative beat that's a little bit different. It doesn't necessarily mean you're like a morally bad person, because games are meant to be explored. Like, I love being a jerk in games. I have a lot of fun with it. And I think in most game experiences, a lot of people also have fun with it because I play up a villain and we have a narrative experience with it. But it does feel different than when everyone's doing it and then saying, yeah, I'm doing this to win, because it becomes a moral good as opposed to a strange and interesting decision. Because if the best course of action to win is kicking somebody else's flowers, suddenly it feels like that's a good thing to do because the game is telling you that's what helps you win. So I think the victorless framing lets you really explore that stuff in interesting ways, and it does create a bit of a different lens sometimes.
Yeah, that's a helpful way of like thinking about it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, but please don't kick my flowers. The butterflies and birds really love them.
I mean, how many points do I get for doing it?
Yeah, how many points does
0.
that
Negative.
work? Well, is this
Negative.
like golf
Negative.
rules? Is it
You have to
golf
pay to do
rules?
it.
Is lowest score wins? Can I?
Oh no!
This
Wait.
this reminds me of this thing that my kid's really into the game Octodad. And in that game, you're an octopus pretending to be like a human father and trying not to get caught. And at the beginning of the game, like, you're supposed to pull weeds out of the garden for your wife, and she gets mad if you step on the flowers. But she found out that you could trap the wife in the house so she can't see you stomping on the flowers, and she took great joy in doing this.
Wild, amazing.
All right. Back on topic. We had a question about a question from me. Like, how do unranked games help you excel in creating these like these games with these messages? How have you used unranked games as like a tool for your projects?
Yeah, I found it really hard to make games before I knew about unranked games because the win conditions in games are so absurdly unthematic that I couldn't figure out how to win at making sure that wolves keep the ecosystem running. Because if you don't have the wolves, spoiler alert, the deer and the elk, they die of starvation. No one in this game wins if somebody loses. Like, there's no I got more money, or I got more points that are money. I got more than you, and oh, you got less than me, therefore you lose? That's weird. Or you got 1 point less than me, I win, I'm better than you. Which seems like a way that a lot of people handle winning, and like, but we all did really well. So why are we stratifying and using a hierarchy for that? So honestly, unranked games just make it so much easier for me to be like, look, we did a thing, we had fun, and here's an end condition, and these are the choices you made. Have fun. Or even better, or differently better, differently good. More than one person can win, because life doesn't work like one winner. I mean, Okay, well, I guess if you're a billionaire, maybe you won,
I don't know
but
about
like
that.
that seems pretty lonely. And everybody hates you. That seems like
Yeah.
not winning.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen some pretty pathetic looking billionaires that I feel like I'm happier than.
Absolutely.
There aren't
But
any
yeah,
billionaires that
it's
own these videos, right? Like, is YouTube billionaire? Are the YouTube billionaires going to come after us? Should we put like a little warning? No billionaires were harmed in the making of this documentary interview.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
being being anti-capitalist is actually very good at making money for capitalists. So I think we'll be fine in a weird, dumb way.
Perfect.
yeah,
Excellent.
Um, but yeah, I noticed that I feel like you are in your element designing unranked games, like more than most people that I meet. Most designers, I feel like a lot of designers feel like they're like rewiring their brains or the design patterns to kind of like create unranked games. But to you, it was more like you always wanted to make unranked games and you just found out it was a thing and started doing it, or you were already doing it and you realized that they were like they fit under this umbrella or something like that. Does that sound accurate?
yeah. I think that about the time that I heard about unranked games, the elusive no winners, I was actually already making that, but I was like, oh, look, a word for what I'm doing. Great. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like other designers really are trying to break apart their understanding of society. And maybe they're not understanding that in order to understand an unranked game, they actually need to address their own worldview of who's winning and who's losing, and actually who's losing out because somebody won too damn much. Um, and we just accept that all of these things in our world are the way that they are and not changeable, but they can change. And the only way that they can change is if we actually try to change them or show people that you can change them.
There's something really beautiful about
Yeah.
this. And I just wanted to say that I see a lot of that in your games. Whenever I play your games, I do feel they're often games about transformation, whether it's an ecosystem transforming or whether it's language transforming. I really feel like transformation is a really interesting term that when you mentioned like that, I immediately thought, wow, those are Vicki's games in a snap. Like that's what I think of when I think of your games. I think of them as journeys of transformation. I also often play your games as if I'm reading a book. And so I feel like they are amazing journeys of story and transformation. And so I feel everything you said in your design, which I think is really cool.
That's awesome to hear.
I didn't like see that through line till now, but yeah, totally. Even in like moral fabric, like you're kind of the premise of that game is that you're like creating like a new moral fabric or something for your society or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Interesting. What an interesting pattern.
I mean, it's a
Oh,
totally different pattern than I tried to make a game about matching socks,
Ooh.
and that was so unfun because it didn't have that pattern. I was like, look, your socks don't have to match, but that's just not very exciting. That
It's a good
didn't,
reminder, though.
that wasn't, yeah,
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 yeah.
but it wasn't transformational enough,
Yes.
It
apparently.
needs to be
I don't
like a
know, maybe I'll,
fashion game.
yeah, maybe, Maybe
Or
it'll do
like
something someday.
I've been wanting a really good like paper doll game for a long time. There was one that like Unpub not too long ago that I got really excited for. Like I just really want a paper doll game.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
haven't
you're a
seen those
game
since I was
designer.
little. Yes, make a paper
Yeah,
doll
just
game.
make it. What is this nonsense? I want. Make it. You're a designer. You can just do it.
Do you, I I have zero. I have negative time.
Excuses, excuses, excuses.
Heather
God.
also
But what
wants
if
a
they were
paper doll
dogs?
game.
So
Oh,
if
paper doll dog a dog fashion game. Oh,
no,
with four
no,
socks.
no.
Now, forgive me, I am actually talking about someone already made a game about making dog sweaters. Um, Kelly, I don't remember her last name, and if you're watching, I'm sorry. But she's part of the Game Designers of North Carolina, and she actually used fabric pieces
Hmm.
to make dog sweaters. And that immediately, I was like, oh, that could even be a paper doll dog game.
Hmm.
Heather's into this idea. I'm all for a paper doll collab game.
Okay, well,
I
we need
just
to
need to
do it.
find. I
All
just
right,
need to search the
y'all.
couch cushions for some more minutes.
Oh, rodents, yes.
Oh yeah, rodent clothes. Oh my god.
I want a rat in boots.
Oh
All
my
right.
god, you
Well,
could
I
have like
think
a little standy
we're at
like
the end of
rodent that you put little.
Huh?
the episode here. Vicki, it's been great having you
Can I
on
have a
today.
goose?
No. So it's been great having you on today, and we're really glad that we got such, fantastic insight from you, and it was amazing having you on. I certainly learned a lot. It seriously it's always an absolute pleasure chatting with you about design. I'm really glad we got to have you on today. Um, Outside of rats and boots, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the community, or about your projects, how we can find you and follow you on social media, etc., or just any cool things you want to share?
Um, you can find me at my first name, last name .dev on Blue Sky, and let's see, cheese.puppy on Discord or BGG if that's a thing people do.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I don't know what I have. Um, Moral Fabric coming to a store near you in 2037.
Well, hopefully that's a little ways away. Can we get a little sooner, maybe? Because I want it.
27? I don't know.
Sweet. All right, 27 it is.
Let
You
me.
heard it here first, folks. 2027 Moral Fabric will be hitting the shelves. Be sure to
Hey, if
reserve
I,
your copy today. Let me put on the stress here. Um,
yep.
yes.
Let me just make a landing page for it real quick.
Love it. Perfect. Like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Um, Vicki, thanks so much for being on today. It's a pleasure as always. Looking forward to seeing what amazing unranked games you come up with next. Have a great one, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye.